again is netters. You have this image in your lecture notes, I believe. So here's the olfactory tract. Here's where some of those neurons are crossing. And here we are going back to the lateral geniculate nucleus. Okay. Now we're in the midbrain. Here are the cerebral peduncles, because this is a ventral view. This, by the way, is what your quiz is on tomorrow. All right, so brainstem, midbrain, pons, medulla, cranial nerves. So cerebral peduncles, and the oculomotor nerve comes out of the midbrain in between the two cerebral peduncles. This is motor now. So what type of cell body, neuron cell body, forms our motor neurons? Multipolar, exactly right. Okay, so let's look at the cross-section. Wrong picture. Wrong picture. So here is a cross-section of the midbrain that we looked at on Tuesday. And here is the colliculi, superior or inferior, depending on what level we're at. Here's the cerebral aqueduct, ocular motor nucleus. What's going to form that ocular motor nucleus? Cell bodies of the motor neurons of the ocular motor nerve. Does that look like the spinal cord at all? No, because we're brainstem. But we still have, in the spinal cord, where did we find the cell bodies of the lower motor neurons? What did they form? Motor, so ventral or posterior? Ventral, or anterior. So what did, gray or white matter? Cell bodies? Gray. So what do we call the anterior gray structure of the spinal cord? Anterior gray horn. Yeah, so that's what in the spinal cord was formed of the motor neurons, forming our spinal nerves. In the brain stem, we have nuclei, distinct, not all together in an anterior gray horn or a lateral gray horn. So this is the equivalent for the oculomotor nerve of the anterior gray horn. This is made up of the cell bodies, lower motor neurons, going out the oculomotor nerve to skeletal muscles around the eye. You look puzzled.
No, I cannot.
Okay, you can't see. Let me redraw. Again, this is just for information because I'm trying to connect the two concepts. I'm not going to have you identify oculomotor nerve nucleus, but the cell bodies of a lower motor neuron of going to the muscles that move the eyeball come out medially. So it's going to come out here, and then it's going to go to an eyeball muscle. A lower motor neuron. On the other eye, to move the other eye, I have another lower motor neuron, and it's going to come out here and go to the other eye. Okay? So this is our equivalent, if you will, of the anterior gray horn. Only in the brainstem, we just have distinct different nuclei for our motor cranial nerves, because not all of them are motor cranial nerves. So ocular motor nerve is what? Do I put an S or an M or a B up there? M. So since we haven't done the eye yet, we're learning these functions of the eye before we have talked about the anatomy of the eye. It's easier to remember. Remember I said there were 3 cranial nerves that move the eye muscles of the eyeball? Each of the other 2, each only do one muscle. So trochlear nerve does one, abducens nerve does one. It's easier to remember what those do, and just remember that the oculomotor does all the rest. Okay? Because right at this point, you don't have to know what those muscles do. That will come in our eye and ear unit. Okay? So here is ocular motor, as I indicated, coming out between the two cerebral peduncles. And if we look at this diagram, this was optic nerve for vision, and here is ocular motor nerve coming in, and it does 4 muscles that move the eyeball. Those are listed on your lecture notes here. All right, but like I said,